Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the Seed and Grain podcast. My name is Steven Kilger. I'm the managing editor with Seed and Grain. I'm sitting here talking with Carol Jones. You may have noticed her from other parts of the industry. She keeps exchange almost every year, giving safety training with her. You may have noticed it, her giant trailer of grain entrapment and other safety training. And she's here with me today, and I just want to say thank you so much, Carol.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you invited to speak with everyone today. And it's a real honor to work with this industry. We've had a lot of good times out there with the trailer, and then just going around the country and working with this industry is a real privilege. Best people in the world.
Yeah, they really are, aren't they? It's a great industry to talk to and be involved with. I guess I have a question. How did you kind of get involved with safety training in the industry? I mean, I always think to myself, I'm a writer. How did I end up writing about this industry? It's pretty small, but you are going around doing trainings, and you're so involved with all the aspects of it.
It's really amazing where your career can take you. Of course, was raised in the ag industry. I'm a farm girl from northwest Oklahoma, and so kind of a natural fit. But I worked a lot of years in the oil fields with different kinds of product handling, pumps, compressors, conveyors, just all kinds of material handling. Fast forward, we know what happens with the oil field. It's up and down, and my family needed me to return back out to the farm for the next generation to manage family farm things. So I went back out to the barn and raised a daughter who's now an engineer and raising two granddaughters, so lucky me. He's also married an ag engineer, so we've got a whole house full of engineers, maybe two more coming on. I was working back in the ag industry again, and still felt like there was a part of my education I didn't get finished. And so I had an opportunity to teach high school for a little while in an ag area. Of course, northwest Oklahoma, we think wheat, a lot of wheat, just grain of all kinds. And but I did have an opportunity through that teaching connection to go back to OSU and finish my PhD. I grabbed that opportunity in a hurry. Got my PhD there at OSU, and they asked me to stay and take Dr. Ron Noyes' position. Some of the folks out there may remember Dr. Noyes, who was in the grain industry, and that sort of set me on the track to go back to my roots of material handling in the ag industry. That led me into things that happen with grain, particularly when it goes out of condition, and that is directly related to safety. So that's where we are today.
Well, grain, really, that's the root of a lot of our problems, isn't it?
To keep the grain in good condition, people don't generally go in the bin very often, and that reduces our risk for entrapment and entanglements and engulfments and breathing bad gases and all those ills that we fight every day.
You're still not a professor at OSU, are you? Are you teaching classes?
No, I teach occasionally. I did retire after 20 some odd years, full professor there at OSU, and I've been given an opportunity to be a trainer for fire service training at OSU, which is one of the world's premier groups that goes around training about all different kinds of fire service all over the world. And that's where our trailer is housed, where our funding comes from. Our funding is through OSHA, with Susan Harwood grant. And they pay me now and then, which is kind of nice, too, that I do work with them. They've got an elite group of trainers that does this kind of training, as well as confined space training and everything that a fire department would need to know. And so I'm real privileged to get to work with them and do the parts of my job as a professor that I really love to do. I don't sit in faculty meetings anymore, and that's pretty nice.
Full disclosure, everyone, we've talked with Carol and I, and you've always sounded more busy than I am. I'm not any important retired.
Well, retirement's kind of a funny thing. I don't know that you quit working, you just get to say no to the things you don't want to do, and I'm doing the things I do want to do now.
You've worked with people across the industry now for years, and what leads to safety incidents when you're moving grain?
There's really two times that it happens. One is when our grain does go out of condition and we're trying to remove material out of the bin and it just won't go down through the reclaim system. So we need to break up the clumps that happens when grain goes out of condition. It may be stuck to the wall. It may have a bridge. It may just be huge chunks that won't go down through that reclaim system. So someone goes in there to break that up so we can get the grain out of the bin. The other time is when we're cleaning out that bin, getting ready for the next year's harvest, which we'll be doing here pretty soon. Hopefully our incident rate doesn't go up this summer, but it has every year before now. So I guess I want to be optimistic that as we clean out those bins, people go in the bin to put the sweep auger in, and maybe we haven't locked out, tagged out. That's just something that I've really been talking to people a lot about lately is lockout, tagout. Even if we don't have an entrapment or engulfment, we step down in those unguarded sumps and then we have an entanglement, so it can sure change a life in a hurry. But all of that really comes from bad grain. When the grain won't come out the reclaim system, that's when we go in the bins and that's when bad things happen.
See that movie Silo, the one that came out a few years ago?
Yes.
About a grain entrapment? It was interesting because it's a dramatization of it. And as I was sitting there watching it the whole time, I'm like, man, this entire issue is solved by a simple lockout tagout procedure.
Well, it's probably the same thing. Lockout tagout is something that we just really need to pay attention to. It makes our job a little longer to do. If we can't lock out, tag out, we've got to at least guard the stump. But lockout, tag out is, of course, it's part of the grain handling standards, and we don't want that grain moving on the inside. So lockout, tag out is the answer. It's one thing just to turn off the auger or de-energize it, but to go ahead and lock it out in case some other employee doesn't come along and say, oh, yeah, we're supposed to be moving grain today. I better turn this back on when we don't expect it. So lockout, tag out is just so important. If we can leave the air and the lights on and still lock out, tag out, that's a good thing to do. But if it's all wired in together, then everything has to be shut off in order to de-energize the augers and anything that moves the grain in the bin. I think that continues to be our big problem, other than bad grain in the bin. Some years we don't have anything but bad grain to put in the bin, so we can't help but have some claws and stuck grain. But the mechanism of lockout, tagout keeps our grain from moving when we're working inside the bin, and that's the best way I know of to make sure that grain doesn't fall down on us, other than staying out of the bin completely.
Yeah, well, we're getting closer and closer to hopefully that being an affordable option for everybody to just kind of stay out of their bins at all times. Well, and from what I know, it's complacency, right? You've been in the bin a bunch of times before. You never had an issue, so you go in again, which it's part of the reason why I think the training you guys do with your grain engulfment trailer is so important, right? Because it allows people to kind of get the experience of something like that happening.
I think so. Yeah. It's a safe environment, so to speak. So far, we've got 100% recovery rate of getting everybody back out of that trailer. And we're proud of that. Yes, we do get complacent. I used to think that the more seasoned employees were safer than our brand new employees, but I'm not so sure that's true because we get lackadaisical about what we do. We've always done it this way, and it never happens to me, and until it does, and then that's just a bad day. But we can't be complacent. We do need to understand that, especially with our new equipment now, we move grain so much faster than we used to. As a kid, I played in the grain bins just like every other farm kid. But we moved grain at 1,000 bushel an hour then. Now, gosh, we can move up to 40,000 bushel an hour. And so there's just no one that has a chance when we're moving grain that fast. You just can't protect yourself. So those of us that have been around the industry a while and have this false sense of security may need to reassess. And the trailer kind of helps you do that. Obviously, it's not, I won't say a completely realistic situation down in the trailer because we use pellets, for example. They're very grain-like. They're not exactly the same. And all the equipment is just easy to access. And, of course, we have light in there, and we can hook up a fan, and that's certainly not like making the grain bin. But it does open some people's eyes when they're entrapped in some kind of material, and they are totally helpless, and we put a coffer bin around them, and sometimes they find out they're a little claustrophobic, and they didn't know that. So some surprising things can happen even to people who have a lot of experience.
I would imagine you'd be claustrophobic afterwards, no matter what, right?
Could be. We get some big eyes sometimes.
The training itself, so you guys get part of your funding from OSHA, part of your funding from the university. You kind of go around and you put on these demonstrations. Can private companies hire you for big training, or how does all that work?
We have funding through OSHA, and as long as the funding is available and we haven't used it all up for the year, we can do this training for free. After that, we do have to charge. The university provides some funding for us. The trailer actually was provided through Assistance to Firefighters grant, and along with the OSHA grant. It's about $500,000 worth of equipment. And so we appreciate that funding. But to continue to do what we do, we rely on that OSHA funding and then on people paying for it once we run out of the money. But it's an 8-hour day when we come. We bring the trailer, and we usually have 4 to 5 instructors with us. The first 4 hours is classroom instruction, and that's not everybody's favorite part of the day, but we do have to talk about equipment and air monitoring, about standards, about governmental regulations, about why grain goes bad in the first place, and what everybody's role is in a rescue or in staying safe. And then in the afternoon, we do 4 hours out on the trailer. Of course, that's the part we like. We do an engulfment with everyone. We'll have 2 rescuers, which are students, and 1 victim, which is also a student, down in the trailer. And, of course, we rotate that out several times. We also go through a segment of knot tying and things we can do if we don't have a tripod available, have rig ladders for an anchor point. We do talk about anchor points. We talk about different kinds of coffer jams. We talk about walking on grain. You know, if you don't have something to stand on, you're going to wear yourself out really quick walking around in grain. So we talk about different options to stay safe when you need to walk in grain and either do your job or get down to a victim. So it's a lot of fun. The trailer's a lot of fun. Our favorite scenario is to have firefighters and elevator workers and farmers all training together. That way everybody knows what everybody else knows, and they get a different perspective from each one of those groups. And that's just a fun day. In fact, gosh, it was Friday. We just got back from West Texas, and we did 3 days there in West Texas. And we had that combination of people in Dumas, Texas on Friday, and it was just a really great training day.
That sounds great. Well, especially because part of the challenge is training those local rescuers, the fire crews that will come out and hopefully save your life.
For them to understand the elevator environment is just essential. Many of them have never been in a grain elevator. They have no clue what that environment is like, and they don't understand the physical properties of grain and how different that is from any other material they work around. So it gives them that opportunity, an opportunity to meet the ag people in their world. And interact with them and understand how important pre-planning is. So it just gives them a little different perspective on their job. Hopefully they never need it. We just hope to goodness that nobody ever needs this training. We'd love to be out of business. But that hasn't happened yet. So.
Right. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it'll happen in the near future, at least.
It doesn't seem like it. You know, accidents happen, and sometimes we just do stupid things. And so we have to respond to that.
And who does it? I'm a woodworker as a hobby, and, you know, I've done stupid things in the shop that I know I shouldn't do, and you just kind of, you're like, oh, that was close.
I think we've all been there.
well, that's why I find it so amazing, your training, because you also get both sides of it, right? You get to be engulfed, and then you also get to be one of the rescuers, and you get to see kind of, you get to feel what both sides of them are feeling at a given time, because I mean, that's part of the issue, too. I mean, you panic when you get in that situation, and it's important to know.
Well, that's true. It does. And the things that you have to do to get someone out of that situation also help you to understand how dangerous your own job is and what you can do to keep from getting in a bad situation like an engulfment or an entrapment. The students that aren't down in the bin, because we only have 3 at a time in the bin, the rest of them are up on top of the trailer, and they're handling the equipment to give to our rescuers, and they're learning about the road system that we use and how extensive the equipment requirement is. The equipment requirements for an engulfment or an entrapment rescue are so extensive that it's really difficult for one fire department to have those resources. And so the ag community finds out how they can help their fire departments and how they can bring other fire departments together so that everybody works together and we can achieve a good outcome when we do have something bad happen. It may take 125 or 200 people to do a rescue. There's so many different things that have to happen. And so we talk about that, and I think our students understand that this is not just a hurry up and run in there and pull somebody out of the grain scenario.
And that's important, too, because the moment you do that, you start to put yourself at risk. Right?
That's right. It has happened. The victim was one of our rescuers, and we don't want to see that happen.
Exactly. I would encourage anyone who's listening right now to, what is the official name of the grain trailer?
Well, our class is called Basic Response to Grain Handling and Hazard. So if you go to the osu-fst.org site, you can find information about our class there. Or if they would like to contact me, I can certainly get that information to them. My email address is jcarol, C-A-R-O-L, @okstate.edu. And I'll be glad to direct you to more information.
Yeah, excellent. I would encourage anyone to let your managers know that you guys would like to have some training like this, because it really is invaluable. One of these days they'll invite me along, and I'll get to that trailer as well.
We would love to have you. We'll make sure you get to be the victim. How's that?
Oh, excellent. I'm good at playing the victim.
Oh dear, that's the fun part of being the victim and hoping everybody does their job quickly and gets you out of this bad situation extra fast time.
It's one of the things I love everyone in the industry to get your training at some point, because especially as someone who covers the industry, I'm a little more maybe plugged into the day-to-day of it, but you see it still way too often.
That's right.
It's tragic every time.
It is, and it just doesn't have to happen. It just really doesn't. We're an industry that has so many resources and so many good people with all kinds of great ideas, and we just can't tolerate this to continue. We shouldn't have to. We can make this get better, and that's part of what our training is about. That's part of the knowledge base that we're trying to assemble and project out onto the industry, and I'm just convinced we can make this better.
I think so too, and it's always great to see grain handling companies kind of taking a lead on that kind of thing, where you see them donating equipment to their local fire departments and having safety days and all of that. That's always really good to see.
This won't happen without that support. It just doesn't. Nobody else is going to do it for us. We've got to do it as an industry. Many of our incidents happen out on the farm. And that's the hardest group to reach. But the way to reach them is through those local co-ops and farm bureaus and other ag groups where the farmers are interested and have a stake in that organization. I like to talk with wives because they're real interested in keeping their children and their husbands safe. So that's a good way to reach out to people. But it really has to be a grassroots effort. It has to happen at the community level. Several of the insurance companies have played a big part in promoting safety and having the equipment down at the grassroots level, and that's real important. We appreciate their support.
And that, I think, is our message today, is get educated, learn about grain safety, learn about entrapment safety, and finally be safe, right?
That's right. Just be safe. Don't go in the den. And if you do have to, try to do it in a safe way. Lockout, Tagout.
Yeah, so important. And let's try to make it so no one gets entrapped or engulfed throughout the year.
Absolutely. It'd be great if our count was 0 this next year. That would just be a wonderful year. I know it probably won't happen, but that's our goal.
Well, I'm sure you get the same study I do from Purdue, where they go through the yearly reported incidents, and you're always like, it's getting better, but it could be.
It can be better. All it takes is one wet year in the Corn Belt, and our numbers will go back up again. It happens every time. We hope that this is a good harvest year for everyone. I hope as we get ready for harvest, we do that in a safe way, and that everybody goes home to their children and their loved ones at night, and we can live another day to have a successful day in the grain industry.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, Carol. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure if our audience wants to reach out, we'll have your email in the show notes and some more information on what you do. And
thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much. And we'll talk soon. Hopefully you can come on again. We can talk a little bit more about confined space entry and some of the other trainings that you do and some of the information you've always been so nice to talk to you. So
we can get more specific about some topics and get a little deeper into some of the things that are important for us. So let me know when that time's available, and we'll be right back.
All right. That sounds great. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm Steven Kilger again, and we will see you next time. All right. Have a great and safe day.